I am enough. So exactly how I am today, exactly how you are today, you are enough for what you want. And all you have to do is be better than yesterday.
It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Chris Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
The Health in the Real World podcast is sponsored by most exercises and workouts, whether they be running, biking, elliptical, rowing machine, traditional weightlifting, or even CrossFit, do not give you a balanced workout. And when you do workouts that neglect even one area, you're out of balance, resulting in pain and injury as well. Achieve your goals with the fitness program your chiropractor would love. Visit chrisjanke.com/pod to watch the free video.
Hello and welcome to Health in the Real World. I'm here today with Heather Stewart. I'm Chris Janke, and Heather's a personal trainer, yoga instructor, massage therapist too, right? You were saying?
Massage therapist for 14 years. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Heather, thank you so much for joining me today. Give us a little bit of a background, a little more specific, autobiography for you.
Absolutely. So, I got into the health and wellness space because I was in the corporate space for 15 years first. And I had a conversation one day with one of my colleagues. I was up for a promotion, and strangely, people get excited. I was like, I don't want this promotion because it means, yes, I'll get more money, more recognition, but I felt like it was just taking more of my life away. I wasn't healthy. And the further I got up, the less happy I was. So I pulled the chute and I left. I quit. I quit my job. I had friends who thought I was insane. I had one friend actually who was going to have me committed. That's how insane they thought I was. But I decided I really needed to take care of myself because our time is finite. I heard recently the average person has 4,000 weeks on the planet. And that gives you a huge perspective.
Doesn't that seem so small, doesn't it? Right.
It is. It blew my mind. I heard about it last week. I said 4,000 weeks. Oh my gosh, I already spent half of them. So I better get on with it. Oh my
gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So So go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like the culture, in the corporate environment, and you're sort of swimming in it, right? Where everybody sort of thinks that, oh, yeah, that's just what you do. You sacrifice yourself for your career. But then, a light bulb moment of insight where you're like, wait, why am I doing this again? Because at the end of all this, I have to live with my own health. And great, I have piles of money. And why? I feel like garbage, right?
To what end? And right. You could see the progression of people. They wanted the bigger house, so they needed the bigger job. The bigger house, to afford it, had to be in the suburbs. So they would spend an hour each way commuting so that they could have money to afford the house that they didn't have time to spend in. It's like, that's broken. That's a broken model. So
right,
I left.
It's dog chasing its tail. We buy things to impress people. Wait, what is it? We buy things with money we don't have to impress people we don't even like. Have you ever heard that?
I like it. It works really well. And I went to India. I quit my job and I went to India.
Awesome.
And just backpacked around for a while. And when I came back, and this was a number of years ago, like I guess almost 20 years ago, we weren't so plugged in. Like I actually had time and space to be alone and think. And when I came back, I said, okay, I'd already been teaching yoga after work to relieve stress. I said, okay, I'm going to go into yoga. I'm going to become a personal trainer. I'm going to help people get healthy. And I was really drawn into helping people in multiple ways. So I became a registered massage therapist. I'm up in Toronto, and you have to be registered here. So I had to go through all the 2 years of school, and I've loved it. I've been working hard, helping people get healthy, but I saw a gap still. And it's interesting. I did a presentation recently where people, you were talking about swimming. Sometimes you don't realize what you're in. Like you don't realize, you think this is just the way life is going to be. Oh, I'm over 30 now, so everything's going to hurt. No, it doesn't have to hurt. You don't have to have your butt the shape of your office chair, right? That's how I felt sometimes. And so I was talking about 3 things have to happen. You have to have an awareness of your situation, that of what you're in. And I used the example of, you might have heard this story. 2 young goldfish are swimming along and an old goldfish is passing them and he says, "Howdy boys, how's the water?" And they're swimming along and one turns to the other and goes, "What the hell's water?"
Right.
Because
Exactly.
they had
That's
no
exactly
idea.
it. Yep.
Right. So once you're aware of it, then you can't unknow it. So you have to make a
Mhm.
decision. Like
Right.
you have to be conscious of your decision. I'm staying here. Yes, no.
Right.
And how can I make this work for me in a way that will keep me happiest, healthiest, and achieve what I want to achieve in life, in my however many of the 4,000 weeks that are left. I feel like I still got 2,000 left. I think I'm okay. Right?
Right. And you're doing all the healthy things, so you may extend that out a little bit. That's a good segue. You talk about the 6 healthy. Sorry, how did you phrase it? The 6 habits of wellness.
I look at 6 aspects because the human brain, we love to categorize things. And when we see the whole thing all at once, it can be overwhelming. So I cut it into 6 slices.
Perfect.
Um,
Perfect.
Physical, we talk about all the time, right? The physical wellness is kind of the main aspect people think of when they think of wellness. And that is a component of it. But there's also your relationship wellness, with your immediate family, friends, like moving outwards. What are your relationships? Are they healthy? Are they supportive? Is there something that you're missing? And that's not to say you have to have a partner. That's just, we're social beings. We need connection.
Sure.
So physical, relationships, professional. Is your job supporting you in the way that you're supporting it? Once you're in business for a long time, you realize business is in business for itself. No matter how wonderful your coworkers are, business is in business for itself, not for you.
Right.
So
Right.
are you getting what you need out of the business, right? Financial. COVID has done a lot to people's financial well-being. So do you have plans in place? We didn't talk about this, but I actually had a stroke in October.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like totally blew my mind. I'm the last person in the world I thought would have a stroke.
Right.
And, but I had created stability in my financial life that I could ride through it. So planning in advance for things that can happen or fixing things that are going on right now.
Yeah.
So what we've got, physical, we've got professional, we've got
Relationship.
relationships, financial,
Financial.
there is emotional.
Yep.
There's lots of conversation about mental health. And emotional doesn't mean you have a mental health issue. It just means maybe some days you're up, some days you're down. And do you have ways to manage when you're having off days? Do you,
Yeah.
I'm also a meditation teacher. Forgot to tell you that. So
You do it all, a little bit of everything.
I haven't even given you all of it yet, but
And then you said before we started recording, you said you coach
coach.
fitness and wellness people to be better business people, right?
To be better
So you're
business
sort of bridging.
people. One more aspect of wellness is spiritual, which isn't necessarily religious. It's just your connection to something bigger than you.
Yes.
Something
Yes.
bigger than you is your spiritual wellness. And so I look at all aspects of all those 6 aspects when I'm helping coaching clients. And yes, so for my health and wellness people, because they're so important, like I was saying to you, like, I think this podcast is super important. Health in the real world. I love it. Because we have our however many weeks there are, and we would need to take care of ourselves in all those aspects of wellness, and health and wellness professionals are trying to help you with that. And they can be super amazing at what they do, but they can really struggle on the business side. And so that they aren't successful. And if they're struggling, then they may not be being able to provide as much as they could to their clientele. So I help them because of my business background, I can help them figure out how to get their business working for them instead of them working for their business. Then on
Right.
the flip side, I help, my target is actually women, although I have some male coaching clients, figuring out how to normalize taking care of yourself instead of always putting everyone else ahead of you, which is why my program is called Back to Me.
Nice. I like it.
My podcast is called Back to Me as well. Everything is back to me.
Perfect.
Back to me in that it's okay to, I had a conversation with someone today. It's okay to take 10 minutes for yourself and go outside and get a breath of fresh air, and not have to be always hosting, taking care of, managing everyone else in your life. So that's kind of all in a giant nutshell. Was that? That was
Nice.
just an
Perfect.
intro, wasn't it? No.
I think no, that we're past the intro. I like that. The term selfish used to be kind of a bad word. I don't know. I'm sure most of our society still thinks of it as a bad word, but I've sort of started to see it as a very good word. It's very good to be selfish in a productive way, in a way that sort of facilitates your connection. Like all those six, I'll call them like check boxes, right? Your physical, emotional. Let's see if I can get a physical, emotional, spiritual, relationship, financial, and what did I miss?
Professional.
Professional. There we go.
I think you missed professional. You said them really fast.
I said yeah. I said finance. I like that because financial and professional are very related.
But they're also separate.
But they're also separate. And then you have the emotional, spiritual, which are related but separate.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like those six categories. I think they work. And it is, like you said, a very kind of easy way to get that high level view of everything that's going on in your life. And
when I look at them depends who I'm working with. You can look at that as a wheel, as a spoke in a wheel. And a gentleman that I was talking to at one point, brilliant visualization. He said, imagine one of them is short or broken. So if you give yourself a score, 1 to 10 out, nobody's perfect. And I'll tell you about perfection. There's no such thing as perfection. But if one is really short, it's like when the wheel is turning, it keeps hitting on that spot. So if one of your aspects is scored low, if you give yourself a score, I hate making people feel like they're being tested in some way, but if you gave yourself your own internal score, let's say you're 5 out of 10 on financial, it's going to affect your relationships because of how your emotional. I could see like it can affect a lot of things, but if one's scoring low, it's going to impact the other ones. So sometimes when we're feeling overwhelmed because we feel like there's so many things to fix, if you just start on one, start working on one, it will spread out into the rest of them. You don't have to you don't have to work on everything at once. It's impossible to work on everything all at once, right? And I think everybody has sort of like a different step one. Like for me, if I'm in that spot where my whole life just feels like, oh my God, I don't even know what to do now. If I fix and work on my physical, my workouts, I get my workouts dialed in, then that gives me the energy to do other things. And I realize not everybody may be like that. I'm very kinesthetic. I grew up playing sports, but for some people it might be finances. Like, okay, let's fix the income. And then that will be our jumping off point to the next step, right? Yeah. And that's why when I take people through it, I ask some questions and we try to give ourselves a score, shared with me or not shared with me. I don't need to know, right? But we look at it to say, first thing you look at is like, which one feels like it's had the lowest, is marked as the lowest right now. Maybe that's where you want to start, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's like you said, there's somewhere else where you feel like, well, if I got this working, then it would kind of correct a bunch of things. So you go where you're going to get the biggest payoff first, the biggest beneficial effect, so that you can start that momentum and that moving, and you can start to feel like you can breathe again, depending on depending on how you're feeling. Not everybody feels like their life is crashing down, but you can always feel like, even me, I always use hashtag better than yesterday, because even little incremental steps, I'm moving myself forward little by little by little. Yeah, I like that. Better than yesterday. And yeah, momentum, I think you mentioned that's a very powerful word, because
you might be at a 9 out of 10 on something, but you know exactly how to get it to a 10, and maybe it only takes you a day to get it to a 10. Momentum, boom, you just started the wheel rolling, and then you can work on something else.
Yeah. And like you'll work on one until you feel like, okay, this is moving. And then you can, when something's moving properly and you've got that momentum, you can see, you probably have the energy and the mindset to say, okay, I'm ready for the next thing. Like, what's the next thing? I'll keep this thing operating the way it is. We'll keep that moving. What's the next thing I can work on to keep that moving forward, to keep myself
100%.
feeling like I'm moving in the direction that I want? I mean, I just did an episode of my podcast earlier about what are you waiting for? There's only 4,000 weeks, and that's from when you're born.
Right.
So
right.
if you want something to change, you do actually have to, you can't just think about it. You actually have to take some action and get some momentum happening.
I like the concept. I think I originally heard this from Jack Canfield. He's Chicken Soup for the Soul, one of the editors. Instead of ready, aim, fire, it's ready, fire, aim.
Right.
And he talks about that. Now, obviously not all the time. Like, my dad's an architect. You can't just like build a building and then see if it worked. You have to really be meticulous with your blueprints. But with a lot of things, especially, things like what you and I do, like, and I'm 100% online, I can just try something, see if it works, tweak it a little bit, see if that works, tweak it a little bit, see if that works. And then I have sort of my final product for the moment. But that's like what this podcast was. It was just one iteration after another after another. If you look at my first episode, it looks almost nothing like what I'm doing now. But I said, I just need to try it. Let's just fire the gun and see where it lands. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's interesting. One of the coaches that I have done some sessions with, she had a post at one point. I think it was a post. I saw it somewhere, and I don't know where she got it from. I can't remember, but it was, if you're not embarrassed by your first attempts, then you waited too long to try.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't know until you get going. And as long as no one's going to die, one's going to die doing a podcast. No one's going to die going and just trying something new. Maybe if you don't know how to stuff your own parachute, don't do that. But it's like,
that falls into the dying thing, right? Like, you're going to die if you stuff your parachute wrong. So better let an expert do that.
Let an expert do it.
Most things just, are not that serious.
Most goals that people are dragging their feet on, maybe they just think it's impossible, so they're not even trying.
Yeah.
But if you don't try, how do you know whether you could do it or not? And I have this Post-it note that I always have right over top of my computer that says, you're 100% responsible for making this happen.
Ooh, I like it.
So no one's going to change me for me. If someone changes me, it's going to be for them. So if I want to change into what I want, I have to step into that. I've heard lots of 30-somethings calling it adulting. I kind of laugh at them. I don't know. It's kind of like adulting.
It's a weird term.
I know. Step up for yourself. Decide what you want. Take responsibility. Ask for help. You don't have to do it alone, right? We're not telling you to do it alone. We're asking you to recognize where you are. Decide if you want to stay there. And if you do, that's cool. That's your choice. But if you don't want to stay there, decide what you do want and pick a direction. And if you need help, just put out your hand, because there's lots of people out there who want to help you, right?
Yep, absolutely. It's like, as you were talking about that, and there's the analogy of like steering your own ship. And, myself included, but people who are at a point where they're like, oh, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. It's almost like you're sitting on the deck of the ship and just saying, hey guys, can you steer over there? Right. It's like, no. You get up, walk to the captain's room, grab the wheel, start driving that ship, because that really is the only way. And there's a certain point, like, I think I said this the other week, but when we're younger, we have our parents and our other relatives and friends and things to sort of be role models. And then as we're adults, like I watched, Tony Robbins, for example, when I was in my early 20s. There comes a point where if you want to do something that literally nobody's ever done, you are your own role model. That's the only way you can do it, right? You have to go inside and look up to yourself. And like you said, you're 100% responsible for the results.
Yeah. And And that's, some people you might find that scary, but I think more of that, like, good for you. Like, take that and own it. And who cares if you screw up? Because you got to be the one to decide where you were. And thinking about school, so school teaches you how to be a good student, and work teaches you how to be a good employee. Part of the reason I think a lot of people in the health and wellness space, weren't taught how to be entrepreneurs. They were taught how to be employees, which is different. And we weren't taught to, well, some people have been, but not all of us were taught that you can actually decide for yourself what you want out of your life. And you are actually in the cabin of the ship driving it, but you just don't realize it. Like,
Right. You keep steering it into that iceberg and wondering why. Who's driving this
what's
thing?
going on? Who's in charge of this place? And everybody's
Right.
looking at you going, you are.
You are, Captain. What do you want us to do? I heard that a good analogy for entrepreneurship is like jumping out of an airplane and assembling the parachute on the way down.
Pretty
And
much.
sometimes you're going to crash and hit very hard, but you want to
Yeah.
minimize that crash.
The fall doesn't hurt. It's the stop at the bottom.
Right.
So
Exactly.
keep building, don't stop building. Just as long as
Right.
you don't hit the bottom, you're all right.
And what a lot of people think, I think it's a lot of reframing, because what a lot of people think is the bottom is not actually the bottom. Because really, if you're jumping out of that airplane, the bottom really is the end of those 4,000 weeks that you're talking about.
Yes.
Like, if you're still alive, you're still falling from that plane, and you can still build that parachute.
You can still, I mean, there'll be little wind currents that'll lift you up. There'll be wind
Right.
currents that drop you down. Because I'm a coach, I have my own coach because I think coaching is so valuable. And my coach always says to me, when you hit that point where you feel like, that's the breakthrough point. It's when it feels like, it's like when you're going through a forest, keep going, because eventually you're going to come out the other side. But it's like, there's that point where you feel like nothing is working. Sometimes it feels like nothing is working, but it is working. You just can't always see. Well, like I can't always see the impact of people listening. And you probably have that too. It was so funny because
Yeah,
I was talking
definitely.
to you. I feel like I know you because I've watched your podcast. I'm like, hey, Chris, how's it going? But we don't know the impact we have on people. So I just keep putting it out there, knowing that if one person listens, it's going to change something for them, hopefully. And it's not the bottom. I can feel like, oh, this is going nowhere, but because I don't know my impact, it's not going nowhere. It's going out into who needs it, right? It's like I said today, if you need your permission slip to take care of yourself, this is your permission slip today. If you're listening to this today, this is your permission slip. Go take care of yourself.
Go take care of yourself. Start with you first. Put on your own oxygen mask, and then you light the way for everybody else who you're trying to help anyway.
Right.
Heather, I want to transition to give you an opportunity to give, you've seen the episodes, your motivational speech.
My motivational speech. I feel like this whole thing is a motivational speech.
I know, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, what else is she going to come up with going forward?
So often people feel like they are, give me a list of excuses. I'm too tall. I'm too short. I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have enough education. I'm overeducated. I'm too fat. I'm too thin. My hair's too long. My hair's too short. I have no hair. All of those are excuses that are not relevant. And this is the time that you need to just step into, I always feel like I'm just entering a new space. Did you ever watch Star Trek or something where they entered the holodeck and it's like, ooh, everything
I've seen the
changed.
movie. Yeah, exactly. Everything's different. What?
Wow, look, I've created my own holodeck. So I invite you, create your holodeck. Like, you decide how it looks. You create it. And another post-it I have right here says, I am enough. So exactly how I am today, exactly how you are today, you are enough for what you want. And all you have to do is be better than yesterday.
Wow. So true. Better than yesterday.
Better
Perfect.
than yesterday.
Awesome. Heather, again, how do people get in touch with you? Name of your podcast, what's your website?
My podcast is Back to Me, Wellness Your Way. It's on all podcast platforms. And my website is prosperityflowcoaching.com.
Oh, I like
And
that.
you can
Prosperity
find,
Flow.
yeah, Prosperity Flow. And it's in homage to the yoga studio that I owned for 10 years, Flow Yoga.
Oh,
So,
oh,
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, again, this is Health in the Real World. I'm Chris Janke. I'm here today with Heather Stewart. Heather, thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. It was awesome talking to you.
Nice. That is a wrap. Woo. Holding up
Woohoo.
that phone for, my
Oh my
shoulders got to
gosh.
work out.
So you got to get
I'm like,
yourself one of these bad boys, right?
oh,
It's a
I had. Oh yeah, you got to keep that in the car too for these emergencies.
telescopes, and it makes a tripod and everything.
That is awesome. All right. Well, that was cool. I'm glad that worked out because
Yeah. Thanks for pulling over.
absolutely. Now it's time to go get the kiddos. But yeah, that I think so. I can't pull it up right now, but I believe you're like middle of May is when this episode will be out. But you'll be getting the emails and the links and everything
Cool.
to do whatever you like with them. But,
Yeah, for sure. And I'll send you a link
Yeah.
to my streamlined, not as streamlined as yours, booking system.
cool. Awesome. Love it.
All right, cool.
Sounds good. Thanks, Heather. Really
Have an
appreciate it
awesome
again.
day.
All right. You too. Take care.
See you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.